Today I think I'm going to entitle this one The Plight of the Black Sheep. I think you guys know where I'm going with this one. You know, there's a term that is referred to as a black sheep. I guess most of you already know what that means, but for those of you who don't, it's basically a person who has blazed their own trail and just does not fit in. Now, in some circles, a black sheep is considered a bad thing, especially when you're dealing with close relationships. This person does not go by the rules, they do not play well with others, and they do whatever they want to do when they want to do it, good or bad. It's black sheep. And because of that, they don't fit in with the crowd of the other sheep, and they're usually ostracized, or the spotlight is placed on them, sometimes whether they deserve it or not. And they're considered the black sheep. This happens a lot in families where you always have that one person. Anytime any conversation comes up, whether that person has anything to do with the matter or not, their name is brought up. And it creates another conversation. But I'm going to tell you something. You're listening to a black sheep. I didn't try to turn the world on its ear or commit mass murder or anything like that, because like I said, being a black sheep can be either good or bad. Now, so let me talk about the bad briefly, and then let me get into the good, because here's a good side to this thing. Black sheep is a person that, let's say you have a family full of people that they're very successful, educated, the whole 9 yards. Overall, you could look at the family in general and see that they follow a certain path, they live a certain way, okay? Then you have this one person that just does not do what they do, I mean, it could be an act of rebellion. They probably figured that life for them is boring, or they feel that they don't fit in with that. So what they'll do is they'll rebel against the so-called existing quote-unquote system, and they act out. They might get involved with crimes, or they might have bad relationships, or poor work history, or they just develop an addiction, whatever, because they're so aware that they don't fit in. They're constantly criticized, because of who they are, instead of getting the necessary help and attention that they need in a positive way. The bad lights always shed on them. These are the bad black sheep. And after a while, what happens is this person figures, you know what, there's no sense in me trying. Even if they do get to that place where they feel they want to clean up themselves, they're like, there's no sense in me trying, because, they're going to think what they want to think anyway, so why even bother trying? And I know that's not the way to think, but I did a previous audio about that called I Didn't Before, But I'm Gonna Now. And basically in that particular video, I talk about how people will sit there and they'll project their negative ideas of you onto you, to the point where you actually brainwash yourself to believe what they think of you. So you start to act out accordingly. That person thinks that you have mental problems. Eventually you start acting like you have mental problems, even though some don't exist. If that person thinks that you're sexually promiscuous, and that was never part of your plan in the beginning, but you've been brainwashed to believe it for so long, you start acting accordingly. If they think that you are a thief and you've never thought about stealing from anyone because you know stealing is bad, you become brainwashed over a period of time to believe it and figure, you know what, even if I do well, it doesn't matter because they're going to think I'm a thief, so I might as well become a thief. Does it apply to everybody? No. But I'm just saying, in a lot of cases, some people act out because they figure there's just no hope of trying to place themselves in a positive light due to the perceptions and the opinions of people they care about. These people are hurt. And coming from that space, I'm well aware of what happened. I was in that headspace. So I'm like, darn, I'm sitting up here trying now, and these people are still going in the Wayback Machine, thinking that I was what was. So I'm like, what's the use of me trying? I might as well go back to doing so-and-so again, because it doesn't matter. That was coming from a place of hurt, because instead of receiving the help that I needed to get, I received criticism or so-called pseudo prayers. I'm going to pray for them. It basically a whole bunch of lip service and not any physical help, not anybody trying to get their hands dirty. There was maybe, I would count on one hand people that actually interacted during my times of trouble on one hand, and actually tried to, do something every now and then to kind of help out. But as far as like, working with me from step one to the end, like I said, I could count on one hand who did that. And because of that level of hurt that I suffered, because there were so many other people that were around me when I came up that I thought would be there for me in this case, and they would be the main ones that didn't have time or made excuses, or they were afraid to accept the fact that I was going through what I was going through, so they did nothing. And it hurt me to the point where I'm like, what's the sense of me even trying to do good if people are going to treat me like this? And don't get me wrong, a lot of the situation was my fault. But people have to understand, when folks make mistakes, sometimes you got to ask why. And that's my thing. If you want to talk about somebody doing something bad, or they did so and so, okay, that's fine, but why? Why? And see, a lot of people don't want to ask why. They want to focus on the act, but they don't want to focus on the cause. See, I come from a scientific mindset. I had to learn to develop analytical skills. And in those analytical skills, that involves trying to find out the cause for the effect. So if you can't tell me the cause for it, don't talk about what's happening right now, because you won't have all the information. But anyway, I digress. That's what that bad black sheep usually does. That feeling of being ostracized, not quite fitting in, and treated a certain type of way as opposed to other people. Sometimes that fuels a person to go into that negative direction. So that's what the bad black sheep does. And they develop a lifestyle of that. Now, the good black sheep, they'll take that experience and they will make a life for themselves because they see where they came from was not a good place. Now, I'm not talking about things like abuse and things like that. I'm talking about a place of where there was just no emotional maturity where they came from. There was no support there. There was no encouragement there. Everybody was out for themselves. There was no connection or anything like that. And this person was like, you know what? I don't want to grow up like this. I don't want to live like this. I don't want to be a fake or a phony or a hypocrite. I don't want to live like this. Life is better than this. I want to treat people better than this. So they become the good black sheep by going out on their own and developing their own life. Yes, they are a black sheep, so to speak, but they're good black sheep because they're fighting against the generational curses. They're trying to reverse the generational curses that were passed down. So I kind of hope that this clarifies things between the good sheep and the black sheep. Some of you are bad black sheep, so to speak, but some of you are good black sheep too. And I want to say that I went from being a bad black sheep to a good one. I look back now, back in the day, I'm like, looking and seeing what I'm exposed to now, because, a lot of truths come out as you get older in regards to situation you were exposed to before. And I'm saying to myself, why in the hell was I worried about being different? Now that Pandora's box has been opened, it's like, wow. If I'd followed the fold, I would have been like that person. If I'd followed the crowd, I would have been like that person. And look at that person now. That would have been me. So thank you, Creator, for not making me one of the other sheep. You have a purpose in this life. And that's why you're different. So it's just a matter of you connecting with your Creator and your ancestors, and then just trying to, y'all have a little power.